Hello, True Duelists. My name is Craig Fee, and as always, welcome to the new card report. Because apparently it's now just a weekly series during our quest to cover the never-ending slow weekly release of every card being revealed for Cyberstorm Access. Yes, the Cyberstorm Access reveals continue to trickle out, and from what everyone seems to be saying on Twitter, the Albaz lore has instead revealed itself to be unresolved as of yet. Allegedly, like a tanky hit by MST, it seems we've yet to truly see the end results we expected in regard to the lore that I have not been meaningfully paying attention to because I am a Duelist Alliance Chad or something to that effect. I hate that I said that. Can we be real? Either way, the Albaz lore kinda wraps up. Maybe there's more cards from it. That's the point we're working our way toward. The Bestial Aluber is a new tuner version of Aluber that's always treated as Fallen of Albaz on field or in the graveyard, and on normal or special summon can discard a card to target a dragon monster either the opponent controls or in their graveyard to then activate one of two effects. Both will send this card from your field to the grave, and then after that you'll either take control of the dragon monster they control on the field, until the end phase I should specify, or you'll summon it from the graveyard. This requires a discard, it's only Albaz in the field or in the grave, and most importantly it's only useful against dragon decks. So is it good? Not generically, no. But against Dragon Link, Branded can already just set a card and beat a Dragon Link board, right? Right, that's the well-known thing here, so moving on. Guiding Quem, or Guiding QM the Virtuous, English was optional for me growing up, you can't blame me for these pronunciations, is, I don't believe, a version of Ecclesia, but you can correct me if I'm wrong. And while I'm not sure who this is, I do know its effects and stats. Another tuner with 1500 offense and defense. This card is always treated as both a Dogmatica and a Despia card, and on normal or special summon sends a Fallen of Albaz or a card that mentions Albaz specifically from the deck to the graveyard. It also has the effect that if a card leaves the extra deck, it can target a Fallen of Albaz or monster that mentions Albaz in your graveyard to then special summon it. This one seems a bit better than the Tunerluber. Tunerluber. Certainly generically, there are a number of cards that mention Albaz that would be solid in the graveyard, I'm sure, and the first effect sets up the second effect for all sorts of plays, so it's got built-in synergy, which is nice. And so I'm going to go ahead and call it decent. Is this the tuner that Branded will play, however? I don't know. They get like 6 every pack. I'm not going to pretend to know which tuner's the best for them. Up next is Branded Etude? A continuous trap. The first effect lets you quick effect synchro summon on the opponent's turn, but you have to use a dragon as material. But thankfully Bestials exist, so it's not exactly hard to do that. And the second effect is a pseudo macro cosmos, making it so while you control a bestial monster, any monster sent to the grave for the opponent's summon of a ritual, fusion, synchro, or link monster, the materials are banished instead. Is it weaker than macro cosmos? Yeah. But it's searchable, and definitely not hard to get a bestial monster onto your board. So, hooray, a Floodgate for Branded. That's what I love to see. Spright also has new support in all forms, but name, maybe? Or at least there's a new level 2 that visibly is the part of Spright lore, so take from that what you will. Fallen of Agrios? This guy can summon itself from hand if there is a level, link, or rank 2 monster on the field to either player's field, and makes it so any link monster that is pointing to this is unable to activate its effects. Interesting. And the last effect is that it lets you quick effect target an Xyz monster on the field and detach up to 2 materials from it. It's a bit of a neat card. It might even be a spicy tech to shut off some link monster effects, like dropping it to the zone of an IP Masquerena maybe or something. Seems to be more of an anti-Spright card to me, shutting off L for Sprint and then using it to get rid of Gigantic's materials. There's probably a lore reason for that. Either way, it makes sense level-wise, but I'm not gonna lie. The main thing I take away from this card and all of its effects is that thing looks way too cool to be that fucking weak in the attack stat. You know? Icejade have also received support, this time in the form of Discount Longyuan. Yes, Icejade Walmart Longyuan, Icejade Azurine is a level 7 water attribute aqua type tuner that can discard any Icejade card or water monster to summon itself from your hand, and can then summon a level 3 Icejade token to your field. While you control that token, you're locked into only summoning water monsters from the extra deck, and because all Icejade monsters have to have at least one useless effect on them, this card is also treated as Icejade Sinnoh Eneon Cradle, while equipped with an equip spell. I don't know what that's for, but it exists and I've read it, and now you know it, so good job, Icejade card number 56. I might look at this card particularly in Mermail, since it's a high-level tuner and the token summon is optional, and the whole deck's water anyway, so I don't care. But if you do summon it, it is at least an instant Icejade Synchro, the level 10 they received as well. Or Chengying, which might be funny for lore enthusiasts, since didn't one of the Sword Souls kill something related to this? Dude, there's like probably 40 minutes of lore I need to read up on, but I don't want to do that. So maybe Chengying from this is hilarious, or maybe I'm wrong, but I'm probably pronouncing everything in regards to these cards' names wrong, and that's the real crime, so good job, Icejade. And most recently, as I film this, there's also a field spell for Branded, the Boundless Open Land. This lets you activate one of 2 effects once per turn if the opponent summons a Ritual Fusion, Synchro, Xyz, or Link monster. It will either add Albaz or a monster that mentions Albaz from deck to hand, or special summon Albaz or a monster that mentions Albaz from your hand. That's a decent extra bit of disruption, offering you the chance to use Albaz's monster effect on an opponent's monster for Mirror Jade, right? Seems decent, minus needing to search it out initially, because I feel Branded already has means to access all of its cards without this. I could be wrong. I've said it a million times, folks. I am not a Branded expert. I don't know if this is what the deck was lacking or not. More interesting is the artwork, because it features Ecclesia and Albaz driving off into the desert. That's it. Waving goodbye to the discount furry and driving away forever real. This looks like it's the conclusion of the storyline sort of card. You've got your 2 protagonists there, the goodies you've been following, just driving away happily ever after sort of deal. Just driving away. The redheaded dude sat in a chair, a battle happened with a giant fucking dragon, and a dead woman apparently, and I have not seen anything concluding that or wrapping it up, and now they just hopped into their discount Toyota Tacoma, and they're gonna drive away into the sunset. Sure, why not? You know what? That's perfect. If I had to end the Albaz storyline, I would probably say something stupid and not all that funny, like they should just jump in a car and drive away. And that's apparently exactly what's happening here, which is terrific. When I think giant, demonic, monstrous religion storylines and epic battles and trials and betrayals and all that stuff, I think, just hop in a car, drive away. That's the end. That's not the ending to a religious epic. That is the ending to my time in college. but apparently that's what Albaz and Ecclesia got, so you tell me. There it is. That's the field spell. That's the artwork. And everyone's saying that the Albaz stuff is done, and that really suggests that it is, and man, is that underwhelming, and I love it. Stepping away from the lore, Dual Avatar also has received support in what at first glance to me seems to be a pretty solid instant fusion target. Dual Avatar Lion Envoy's Aun is a level 4 fusion monster with donuts for attack and defense. Its fusion materials are any two dual avatar monsters, but its effect gains are based on the materials used to summon it. So it's actually not an instant fusion target in any sense of the word, I guess. If you used dual avatar Emperor Yugioh, its attack becomes 3,000 during damage calculation only, which is an interesting way to give it attack. And if you've used dual avatar empowered Mitsujaku to summon it as material, it can quick effect target and banish a card once per turn. Now, that one is a solid effect. The last effect, the third one, is a float on destruction independent of its materials to summon dual avatar fists Yuhi and feet Koku from the deck and make them indestructible by battle for the turn that they've been summoned. Pretty bold of Konami to make a fusion monster that really doesn't require specific materials, but actually requires two very specific fusion monsters as materials to even be remotely worthwhile. And then just give it a float into the weaker version of the materials you want to be using to make this. That is bold, to say the least, if you ask me. Granted, Dual Avatar has that insane spell that summons like 5 tokens, which maybe helps mitigate this. I don't know, I didn't read that card in review for this, but it still feels very underwhelming. Neat though, the biggest boss is just 2 folks and a level 4. Just a level 4 version of just 2 dudes. Chilling, standing ready. Security Force also received a new Link 1 monster that has Twitter straight up acting a fool on main. As is always the case anytime Yu-Gi-Oh! Releases an even vaguely woman-looking card. So, we're on track. This time it's Security Force Night Chaser. A Link 1 with 1 singular down arrow for its Link arrow and 800 attack. This card could be what the deck needs to become decent. Hopium. The first effect will make it so the opponent cannot target S-Force monsters for attacks with monsters in the same column as an S-Force monster. Like the shittiest alternative to Mech Knight Morningstar, but also the opposite somehow. Nice. Its other effect can quick effect target and shuffle an S-Force monster you control into the deck to summon a differently named S-Force monster from your banished zone. Yeah, this card's lucky people are horny for it, I guess, because otherwise it just sucks and it's useless. Couldn't shuffle a banished monster to summon from the deck and be really good instead. No, it's gotta be bad because it's S-Force. That tracks for the archetype. Good on you, Konami. Mech Knight Morningstar protects most monsters from attacks and searches a card from the deck, and this thing protects 1 monster from an attack and puts cards back into your deck from your field. Genuinely impressive alternative on what is a very solid Link 2 in one deck and a bad Link 1 in another, apparently. That's the comparison I'm going with. Welcome to 2023. There's also a handful of new traps revealed this week, starting first with Dinomorphia Intact, a new counter trap for Dinomorphia. Can you believe it? This is their own little in-theme Solemn Strike, with the added benefit of not letting you die. That's right. When a monster effect is activated, while you control a Dinomorphia card, you can use this card to negate and destroy that monster, and as part of the effect, this card will make it so each time you take battle damage, that battle damage will become half your life points. So you'll always lose half your life points every time you're attacked, but you can never actually lose from battle that turn. It also has the graveyard effect that if your life points are 2,000 or less and you take battle damage, you can banish this card from the grave to make that battle damage 0. Yep, it's Solemn Strike. That makes you unkillable for a turn by battle. Just need to be playing a Dinomorphia card. That's exactly what the deck needed. I understand that their main game plan is to summon out the only actual dinosaur in the deck to use as a floodgate for monster effects. So stopping more monster effects is exactly what they were missing. Okay, actually, it does seem pretty decent, making you unkillable, and this offers you the means to stop hand traps or graveyard effects of monsters that the dinosaur is unable to, stop. It's just too bad that Dinomorphia aren't real dinosaurs. Otherwise, I might play them. Yep, this is a direct and personal attack against Dinomorphia players, but only if they're going to insist to me that they're dinosaurs. They're not. They're cosplayers. There's one dinosaur, and I think like a mech dinosaur plane thing. Don't at me. This is a personal attack on Dinomorphia players and also my friend Mark. Do not at me about this. It's a solid card though. And what's up next? Well, that'd be Fusion Duplication. This is a normal trap that on activation targets a normal or quick play fusion spell or polymerization spell in your graveyard, banishes it, and then this card's effect will become the banished spell cards. Simple and effective. It offers the chance to use archetypal spells a second time, such as Branded Fusion or Shaddoll Fusion, and I've also heard talk about how you can use it to copy a super polymerization in your graveyard, to which I'd say you can also just run, set, and then play super polymerization. I guess you technically won't need to discard when using it with this card, but you also don't need to already have a super poly in your grave. So, something to think about. My guess is this will be decent at some point, but the current fusion deck doesn't even play fusion spells to win, so not until Tearlaments are good and dead and buried. That's my guess. We've also got the sequel to Trap Trick coming out this set, with the translated name as of now being Trap Track. This normal trap will require you to destroy a monster you control to allow you to set a normal trap card from your deck right onto your field. Like Trap Trick before it, this card will be activatable this turn, but you'll only get to activate one normal trap for the rest of the turn at all. I only have so much to say here, I guess. It's access to normal traps without playing duplicates, meaning it's a garnet-free alternative of sorts. My guess is this is best used to pull out something extremely obnoxious, like non-aggression area, to make playing really unsufferable. I doubt non-aggression area specifically will be the Tecton choice, but something of similar impact on a duel. Maybe dimensional barrier depending on the matchup sort of meme. I just don't see this being played to pull out an imperm. That's just me. The biggest struggle for this card is, does it really offer anything Trap Trick doesn't? Most trap-heavy decks already have a high trap count regardless, and lower monster counts in general, so banishing an extra trap from your deck seems preferable to popping one of your few monsters. Now, I'm not an expert here, and maybe Labyrinth or something has been chomping at the bit for exactly this card, and I'm just wrong. That's fully possible, but I don't know, man. Seems unnecessary to me. That being said, some funky art. Who dropped that? And why is Konami promoting littering? How dare you, Konami? Don't you know if a child sees something in any capacity at all, they immediately do it forever? That's why it's actually good that you can't explore areas in the new Pokemon game. It just makes sense. I played Pokemon as a child, and I've spent my entire life breaking into people's houses and being assaulted for it. If I see it, I'm gonna do it. That's the quote of every 12-year-old that ever existed. You can take my word for it. Moving on to things that actually matter, in 2016, the TCG released Breakers of Shadow, and among the powerhouse cards released in that set was a card called Twin Twisters, a power-crept version of Mystical Space Typhoon, destroying not one card, but instead up to two. And later, in Lightning Overdrive, we got a power-crept version of Book of Moon, but somehow worse. Again, requiring a discard, and again targeting two cards instead of one, this time to flip face down, but this one lacking versatility by demanding two specifically as opposed to the up to two that Twin Twisters offers. I bring these cards up to say that we have gotten a third power-crept version in this same sort of library, with a new power-crept version of an old staple trap card, double hooking, being Call of the Haunted, but good. Kinda. This continuous trap has the activation cost of discarding and targeting up to two monsters in your grave, and then lets you summon them both. They can be summoned in any position, which is nice. Link monsters are targetable with it. And if either of the monsters leaves the field, this card is destroyed, and if this card leaves the field, both monsters are destroyed. So they're aware of the problems abusing Call of the Haunted had once upon a time. Even gave this one a hard once per turn. Sensible. I think I like it. Up to two means you can choose to discard and summon only one, and if I understand correctly, you can target one of the cards you discarded since it's all part of the cost? Could be wrong here, correct me if I am, if you know the ruling. I think you might have to have two monsters in grave already, but since discarding and targeting are all happening in the same part, I think you can target what you discarded. Or I'm lying to you again. I'm a big fan of fake news if you don't know. Either way, it's pretty solid. It's Call of the Haunted, but a little bit more. It can't be as abused as Call of the Haunted could, no bouncing it to hand to get it back and loop it again. And hell, even Cosmic Cyclone will destroy the cards. The monsters, I mean. Plus, if you don't use the monsters for either an Icejade summon or using both cards as a link summon, if either of them goes, everything goes, so that is a bit of a hindrance to it. But I think in casual duels, this sort of card can really help some decks to pop off, and I look forward to adding it to like Resonators or some wacky shit to make some absurd synchro play. Oh, and there's a fish on it, so it's pretty cool because that means you gotta play it in Goatee, according to the script. That's a lie. This is probably terrible in Goatee. Do not take my advice on how to play the fish deck. And lastly for today is a new V-Jump promo for Super Heavy Samurai. Super Heavy Samurai Constable is a new level 4 for the deck with 500 attack and 1500 defense. On normal or special summon, this card can add a face-up machine pendulum monster from your extra deck to your hand, and even better, if you've got the patented Super Heavy Sad no spell and trap in your graveyard, you can tribute this card to summon an Earth Machine with 1500 or less attack from your hand or graveyard. Holy shit, it's Earth Machine support. I don't know how good it is generically, because most decks, and especially Earth Machine as a deck, play Spell and Trap. So it's a turn 1 or turn none sort of card in my eyes. But in Archetype, it seems like a cute extender, if not just a way to loop that new Pendulum monster they got that's really good. I've certainly seen worse cards from V-Jump, and I've definitely seen even worse cards in Super Heavy Samurai. So my professional diagnosis is take it and run. At least it's not the newest Sky Striker support, which as we all know, is complete and utter dog shit. Shoutouts today go to today's sponsor, the LIFD Magnetic Display, a great way to display all those Sky Striker cards that you'll get that are useless in their deck and are just useless everywhere else. What do you do with cards that you don't care for? Throw them in a magnetic display. I'm kidding, of course. You throw out the Sky Strikers and you get your good cards. And you throw them in a magnetic display. A great way to keep your cards safe and, you know, that registered flex offender status by showing them off. If you want to go ahead and get yourself a discount on one of these bad boys, you can use the promo code YGOStrats15 or click the link in the description for 15% off. Thanks again to LIFD for sponsoring today's video, and as always, I've been your host, Craig Fee. That'll wrap it up for today's new card report. Just covering some of the new cards in this one. The regular update will be out tomorrow, as usual. Until then, I've been your host, Gregory Feganite. Make sure you subscribe to YGO Strats for next week's update, so you can become a true duelist and to impress your smoking Italian wife. We're ending on the important one. Impress those smoking Italian wives, lest the Twitter users chirp you for it, because as we all know, we must value the opinion of people who brag about their smoking Italian wives on Twitter.